What's up, fight fans? Let's call this take two. This is your boy AC at Eastwick Boxing UK. As always, Eastwick Boxing UK is in association with ThreeKingsBoxing.com. Shout out to the movement and everybody that's moving with it. Planners today, real quick, we've got Willie the Kid. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. A few connection problems, but we're back again. So thanks very much for your time and thanks for staying back on. Seabone Henderson,
What's up, man? How's the weather over in the UK?
raining as fucking always, my friend. We get about 3 weeks of sunshine a year, and that's about it. And well, yeah, rain, wind, that's about it. Blah blah, man. Truth facts about boxing. How you doing?
Shit, man, alive.
Alive. Yeah, it sounds like a couple of the panelists are having a bit of a rough time of things at the moment. Um, so yeah, sorry for anybody that was listening before. I have
Oh, we
Wi-Fi connection problems. We got cut
we
off.
have we have Wi-Fi though.
You've got Wi-Fi that works. Clearly, I don't. Um, so real quick, we're gonna talk about the fight on Saturday in Manchester, the WBA Super Middleweight Champion. George Groves is taking on Chris Eubank Jr. It's the semi-final of the World Boxing. It's the first semi-final of the World Boxing Super Series, Super Middleweight Division. So real quick, because I know we've already done this the once. We'll start giving the same person. See, how do you see this fight going?
Well, I'll give you who I think's going to win here at the end, but I think there's some keys to big. I tell you what each guy has. Their advantages. Eubanks is conditioning. He's got a higher output. He seems to get better every fight. Even he's starting to use the jab a little more, although it's still lazy at times. Groves, of course, the experience and resume factor. Fundamentals is great for him. He's got great fundamentals. I think he's the more technical boxer of the two, at least at the time. Of course, Eubank has a speed advantage. He has an athleticism advantage. Grove has a good jab. He has a very good jab. He's got strong power in the right hand, especially. Has some good sneaky body work. Much straighter puncher. But here's the thing about Eubank Jr., and I don't think I mentioned it the first time, is his diversity and his punch selection is great. That's one thing I'll say for him. It's great. It has been most of his career. Some keys for him, for Groves, will be to use some movement here. And I don't mean a lot of movement where he's trying to be what people call a slick boxer or nothing like that. What I mean is he's got to use enough movement that he doesn't allow Eubank Jr. to plant his feet and throw 3 and 4, 5 punch combinations, because if he does, he won't last long. All right, Eubank's got one of the better uppercuts in the division by far. Okay. He's really going to have to use his jab. And he's going to have to incorporate some traps. He's going to have to be able to set traps to where he can take advantage. And I don't know if you've noticed it, but Eubank Jr., even though he's using the jab a little more, he uses it lazy at times. Okay. A lazy jab can get him in trouble with the great counterpuncher. And Groves is a decent counterpuncher. I'm not going to say he's a Canelo Alvarez or anything like that, but he's a decent counterpuncher. Okay. Now, for Groves, like I said, he's going to have to utilize a little bit of movement. He's going to have to keep Eubanks from planting, from setting, keep him resetting. You know what I'm saying? Don't allow him to develop a rhythm. He's going to have to slow his pace down, because even though there's a big deal made about the pace, but it isn't technically as much as what you really think it is by the naked eye when you really start breaking it down. The key for Eubank is going to be to push the pace early. And what I mean by that is to force him to move quicker than what he wants to. Don't allow him to stay on the front foot too much early. Okay. Keep him on the back foot as much as possible. That way you don't never allow him to get control of the pace, if you understand what I'm saying. All right. Now, I did see Groves has a tendency to be pushed back to the ropes at times. And I think with Eubank pushing the pace early, and by the time this fight gets to the 9th, 10th, 11th round, I think you're either going to see Eubank Jr. stop him, okay, or win a unanimous decision.
Okay, thanks very much. Willie the Kid, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as Groves could make him keep setting, behind his jab. It can make it an interesting fight. I could see him winning the early rounds and him losing late. I could also see a lopsided fight for either guy. I can make a case either way, but this is a very close fight. Me personally, I'm taking Eubank by unanimous decision.
Okay, thanks very much, Bo.
Yeah, listen, man, it's a very interesting fight. It's so interesting that we're talking about this fight and not the other fight. We talking about this fight like this is the final fight. Whoever wins this win the tournament. Um, Here's the thing though, is that I said this. It's a Groves fight to lose and Eubanks fight to win. Biggest problem with George Groves is if you go back to the Bandu Jack fight, is Jack athleticism was giving him some trouble, and then a couple of times when George was throwing the right hand, he was kind of off balance. That's not he's not going to have to he's going to have to correct that when he goes up against Eubanks. Now, what Eubanks is going to have to do is, I think somebody mentioned earlier, develop a jab, which okay, I don't see that happening. And if Groves can get to that body of Eubanks early, it could cut down on some of that movement. So it's a 50-50 fight, and it's a good fight. But you can make a case for Groves winning if he jumps on him with the experience, and you can make a case for Eubanks winning the decision because people talk about Eubanks' power, and it's not that his power, just he throws a good volume of punches that keeps the other guy from throwing back. And that's where Groves is going to have to keep Eubanks from doing, is don't let Eubanks get into a rhythm where he's throwing punches and you can't get nothing off.
No,
Absolutely.
I completely agree. I mean, we saw that because this is the thing with. I mean, a lot is made of the Billy Joe Saunders and Eubank fight, but Eubank started that fight so fucking slowly, and the way he came on in the second half of that fight, if Eubank Jr. would have started quickly, he would have won, no question.
Absolutely.
For me, I mean, I've been watching a lot of tape in the last 2 days. You'd have seen on the article that I wrote in ThreeKingsBoxing.com. I have followed George Groves' career, or his whole career. I'm a fan of his. But that being said, I mean, as much as the heart wants him to win, I'm not actually too sure he can. I was watching a lot of tape from both guys yesterday. I think the thing for me is that George Groves needs to try and stay in the middle of the ring. As I think it was Chris just pointed out, that if George Groves does have a tendency to get on the back of the ropes. I saw that in the Martin Murray fight that I was watching yesterday, actually. Martin Murray's not really a volume puncher, but somebody like Chris Eubank Jr. can really, really tear him up, which I think is a problem. George Groves is actually very easy to hit. I mean, he was in a fight against Cox in the last go round. I mean, he finished it with a beautiful body shot, which was neither here nor there, but he was having problems. And you've seen again, you look at fights against James DeGale, Badu Jack, Carl Fight. George Groves is there to be hit, and yes. Chris Eubank is a very, very fast fighter. That being said, looking at the other side of the coin, the flaws that I've seen from Eubanks, as much as yes, I completely agree, he's definitely getting better. I think the thing for me is he tends to carry his left hand quite low. As we've already hit on, George Groves is a pretty good counter puncher. He has got pretty good timing, and he's most definitely the bigger man in that fight. I mean, he's not really. Neither man is a one-punch knockout artist. In fact, I can't actually remember either of them doing that. But that being said, George does carry an awful lot of power in that right hand. Eubank has struggled with boxers before. He struggled against Blackwell at times. He struggled against Billy Joe Saunders at times until he found his rhythm. So it's very, very important that George tries to control the pace. For me, the head wants a George Groves win. I'll say this quite handily. I as much as it pains me to say it, I honestly think that Eubank Jr. will probably stop him late. That's my take on it.
Hey, if the knockout comes, it comes from who's more likely to get the knockout.
Groves for me. You bet against it.
I agree with that. You know what? I want to throw something in there.
Isn't that wait, Bo, before you make that point, let me just make a quick point about that. Isn't that kind of weird? Because we just talked about who's the better boxer, but obviously the stamina is the issue here, right?
I totally agree, Willie. I think Groves is the better boxer and has more power.
Yeah, which is weird because usually, that's what I'm saying. Usually that's weird because usually the boxer takes over late. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And in this situation, it's a little bit different. So
go ahead, Bo. This is sorry to interject. This is the thing that I do want to bring up is that without question, George Groves is just about shot. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders, obviously, we saw in his last fight against David Lemieux, he put on a good show. George Groves is probably the best boxer that Eubank Jr.'s fought. He not really fought in front of this kind of crowd. I don't really give him that much credit for his wins against Arthur Abraham because he was pretty bad. He was done already. I don't really give him much credit for the
You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't, whether he was banged up or not, you got to give him that victory. Whether how old the guy, once that man put on them gloves and get in that ring, it counts.
Well, no, it counts, but it's not the Arthur Abraham that we saw a few years ago, right?
Neither is George Groves the same. That's not the same. That's what I was going to get to. This is the same. This is not the same George Groves that fought Froch, because the reality is this fight. Because when you look at it, like we said, we know Groves is probably the better boxer, but from a more fresher standpoint, you have to give it to Eubanks because Groves has been in some wars, and we saw the effects of that in the Jamie Cox fight.
Exactly.
This is very true. No, I take it.
That's why I favor Eubanks Jr. here.
I think I think Chris touched on this before we went live the first time. It's whether Eubank has got his daddy's chin, because we have seen him wobbled at 160. Spike O'Sullivan wobbled him. Billy Joe Saunders wobbled him. Nick Blackwell caught him a couple of times as well. And Groves, I think for me the stamina issue is that Groves. I think that Groves actually has a hard time making 168. I do. I think that's part of where his stamina problems come from, because he's a big guy. I mean, he could easily make 175, and why he hasn't, I don't quite know. But he could do. That's sort of part of the problem. But equally, George Groves is definitely going to be the bigger. We've not really seen that many frailties from Chris Eubank Jr. at all, whereas George Groves' frailties are all to see. I mean, he got sparked by Carl Froch in their second fight. He got stopped in their first fight. Okay, it was probably a little bit premature, but that fight was only ever going one way. I'm pretty sure Badu Jack actually dropped Groves in the first round of the fight. And there or thereabouts. So it is a real 50-50 fight. I mean, let's talk about where either man goes from here. So obviously the other fight is Jürgen Bremer, Callum Smith. That's over in Germany on the 24th, 25th of this month, I believe. Guys, real quick, because I know we were talking about one, but this kind of feeds into the dynamic. How do you see the other fight going?
Callum Smith. I think Callum Smith's your winner of this tournament.
You think Callum Smith's going to win the tournament?
I actually do, man. I actually do. Now this is without me watching a whole lot of tape on the style matchup between who he's facing in the final. Should it be Groves? Right. Groves is actually a little bit harder fight for Smith than what Eubank Jr. was. It'd take me a little while to break that down, but yeah, Smith he's a very solid fighter, very solid all around fighter. I think I heard was it 2K one time told Anthony and Andre Durrell that he beat them both. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He would. Is that who it was, Bo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And he's not lying to him. He's being honest. Callum Smith's a pretty solid all around fighter. The problem's going to be for Smith is he's going to have to win this next fight convincingly because they're in Germany against Brahma. You know what I mean? That's the only problem for Smith for me. Right now, I favor Smith in the final. Yeah.
So you're not giving Jürgen Bremer. I mean, Bremer's obviously coming down from 175 to 168. Didn't look that great in his quarterfinal, in my opinion. So we're not giving Bremer any shot whatsoever.
No, I didn't say that. That's what I just said. If he keeps it close, he's going to win the fight in Germany. If he keeps it close, he'll win that fight in Germany.
Okay. What do you think? Who's going to win this tournament?
Who's going to win the tournament?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll find out.
We don't know. That's true.
Personal opinion.
I mean, I'm on a pretty hot streak, but I don't know.
I can't give you a personal opinion on something that I have no source of knowing who's facing who yet.
He's right.
Like that. How would that be? I'm a pundit, man. I have a certain responsibility to my audience. But I think it's either gonna be Smith or Eubank that wins this tournament. It's like you said in Germany, man. That scares me.
That does scare me. That's what I'm saying. If he's gonna have to win it dominant,
and Smith is a good fighter, by the way. It's just sometimes he fights up and down. Like sometimes like, he has his moments where he has to look bad, and he has his moment where he has to look good. I just want to see him put it all together consistently.
Smith
And
has
I believe he has the talent to win this whole tournament too.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, and you guys are saying it right. You're fighting over in Germany, and
that scares me, man.
Jürgen Bremer, who
that ball-headed motherfucker
didn't look that good at 175 and got demolished by Nathan Cleverly. But even if you look at the judges' scorecard in that fight, they had it closer than what it probably should have been. So that's the part where I definitely agree with both Will and Chris. Is Callum Smith is going to have to make it abundantly fucking clear he won. Like, you know what? Put it like this: he got to win 12 straight rounds just to get a 7-5 decision. You know what I'm saying?
He's going to have to win 10 of them. He's going to have to win 10 of them, in my opinion.
No. He got to win 12 rounds just to get a 7-5 decision.
Well, British fighters haven't exactly got the best history going out to Germany and winning. I mean, Paul Smith went out, and I actually think that Paul Smith won the first Arthur Abraham fight. He definitely didn't win the second, but I thought he won the first. Martin Murray went out and got a draw at Felix Sturman, probably a fight that I thought that he won. There's been a few. The only one that I can think of that actually went out and did a job and did a number was Tyson Fury. But he also, as we said, he won that fight convincingly. So it's going to be.
You got to make it like abundantly clear,
man.
Like by the end of the fight, like you should have the crowd quiet. You know what I'm saying? Like if you hear one clap, you're gonna lose.
You know what? If you get 2 minutes and 58 seconds of no clap, but you get 2 seconds of a clap, that motherfucker won around.
Yeah. It's gonna have to be. I'm gonna tell you, I was there at the Golovkin Canelo fight, and at the end of the fight, the pro Canelo crowd booed the decision. You know what I mean? They felt like Golovkin won. The live crowd did, and it's gonna have to be way more decisive. You know what I mean? It's going to have to be a moment almost like Rocky IV, where the Russians are standing up and hollering, Rocky, Rocky, Rocky. I mean, it is.
But right now, without having to look at anything, I favor Smith in that fight.
Yeah,
even with all that said, I'm still favoring Smith in that fight.
I favor Smith because I think it's an illusion about Jürgen Bremer and Rob Brandt. That was an illusion. Okay.
Well, Rob Brandt was just too small for 168.
And he was extremely inexperienced. And I think he was taken by fighting there and with all them people. I think that kind of overtook him a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that's an illusion when people are like, oh, because I heard people like, oh, Jürgen Bremer is back. He's free. Get the fuck out of here. That's an illusion. Don't buy into that bullshit. Damn.
Totally agree.
I ain't gotta talk like that. That's Aaron's cousin.
Yeah, his brother's called Liam, That's a fact. So let's talk about the World Boxing Super Series as a whole, because Chris, I think you were talking the other day that they're potentially looking at doing another 2 tournaments. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right now, they're potentially looking at doing them for a while. Right now, the focus is going to be on the lower weight classes with this next one. At least that's what the word is that I'm getting from Sauerland and himself. Also from Samosa, that's the word I'm getting. And if you're going to be there tomorrow, if you get a chance to talk to Sauerland himself, see if they'll let you fit, if they'll even spring that. But the divisions I've heard are between 118 and 126.
Wait a minute, 118 and what?
126. Either 118, 122, 126, 122, 126.
Well,
somewhere in that area.
I'll tell you what, if they have one at 122, I don't want to see he whose name we do not speak.
Who?
Bro, he's not fighting.
Yeah, that's him.
He's not going to fight anymore, I don't believe. I think
he's done.
Yeah.
I think a fork in him.
He's I don't.
The doctor said you can't eat.
He's got some legal issues. There's a little more legal issues involved there than what we really know all about. He's done. I believe he's pretty much done. I know for sure he will not have another fight without Caribe settling some legal issues with Rock Nation. I know that for sure. And this last fight did not help the matters at all.
So, do you think that hopefully, because the World Boxing Super Series it's been fantastic for boxing. I mean, I personally enjoyed it because we've been fortunate enough to get it on TV over here. I mean, it was quite funny actually because the Gassiev Dorticos fight was actually on free TV. It was on ITV4, so it was just just a regular run of the mill channel. Obviously, we've got to pay for the George Groves and we've got to pay for the Callum Smith fight, which I've got no problem in doing. But we've had this readily available for us. But obviously, yourselves over in America, that hasn't been there. So hopefully that would change. Why? Break this down for us because there are the question's been out there for a little bit. Why haven't you guys picked it? I mean, granted, I know that there's only one American in the whole tournament, but why haven't you guys picked that up?
Where do they budget it in? Let me ask you that. Where does Showtime add that to the budget? Okay, HBO's not going to do no business with Schaefer right now. Plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
All right, where does Showtime add this in the budget at? They can't right now.
I have no idea. That's why I'm asking you.
Here's what the WBSS is going to have to concentrate on.
I mean, we kind of got our own
American
fights.
names. Yeah, we've got big fights over here. Shit, the whole first half of the year spoiled pretty much. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what the WBSS better do in this next round is, even if they have to back off that 118 to 126 decision, is try to get a division that's got some American names in it. And the reason I say that is because that's what's going to make one of the networks pick it up. Okay.
Yeah, those names will come with networks.
Also, exactly. Those names will come with networks.
Also, that and time frame. Time frame is a huge factor.
It is. It's huge.
A couple of those fights took place on a Friday.
And also, you've had two of them's been live here in America. I believe Dorticos and Khrushchev, and also the first Gassiev fight, maybe. I think.
Yeah, one was in the Prudential Center in New Jersey.
Yeah, I think that was Gassiev and
yeah.
Who I can't think off the top of my head who he fought the first round, but that fight there.
So
Logic here, I think it was.
The most logical divisions to do this, the World Boxing Super Series, to capture the American audience would surely be 147 or 154. But isn't there a whole lot of commercial issues that have probably stopped that from happening?
That's not 147. Not happening.
147 now. Too many players at 147 that you got to deal with.
I'm just doing this for the
that's going to be a lot of money.
Right. Okay. So 126 division. Would there be potentially at 126? I mean, guys. I mean, the sort of names that I'm thinking of that could potentially be in that.
I would like it. I would like it at 126 because that means I would see Gary Russell more than once a year. That's what.
Well, yeah, because you've got Carl Frampton, you've got Alcamares, Scott Quick, Josh Warrington. There's a lot of names there.
What you say? What you say? Yeah, you're right. If he's in it,
you said who?
That's if he gets selected. Yeah.
All I know is you got Maris, Frank. I mean, shit, they're about to fight each other, so I don't know, man. That's gonna be interesting.
Good stuff. Well, that's just about all the time that we've got for the show today. Right, give me a definitive. Right, so I want a definitive answer. I know you've already picked the winners, but give me a definitive, whether it's knockout or decision. We'll start with Bo, Chris Eubank Jr., George Groves.
Definitive answer.
I want a definitive answer.
You asked him for a lot. You want a definitive answer on a 50-50 fight. All right. Definitive, the winner of that fight will be the guy with his hands raised.
You're a funny motherfucker.
Yeah. Did we mention that Bo is our political spokesman?
I'll take Eubank by decision.
Thank you. Chris?
I'm going to take Eubank Jr. to get stopped in round 10. I mean, not Eubank Jr. to get stopped. Eubank Jr. to win by stoppage in round 10 with Groves against the ropes.
I got to go Eubanks by, you know what? I'm going to take Eubanks Jr. to win the fight by stoppage in the 9th.
Okay, no, I'm going to go with the Eubank Jr. stoppage in the 9th as well, but my heart wants Groves knockout in the 5th or the 6th. That's what I personally think, but there we go. I had to get it in there somewhere, guys. I can't help myself. Right, let's wrap things up. Winnie the Kid, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
You can find me right here on YouTube, Eastwick Boxing Talk, 3kingsboxing.com, on Facebook, Twitter, and Facebook. Really, anywhere where these guys are at, and wherever they need me, man.
Bo, how about you?
Man, you can find me Truth and Facts About Boxing. You know that. And you can also find me right here, Eastwick, man, Four Corners, Colossal, that Prodigy of Boxing, man, wherever the movement is, that's where you'll find me, man.
Good stuff. Sibo?
Man, I tell you, man, that dang old man, I'll get on there, man, wherever these guys will let me do a show, man, and the dang old movement guys, I tell you, man, Truth and Facts, all about, man, and, I mean, you can always catch me on blogtalkradio.com, man. You got the Four Corners Boxing Talk Show, and, of course, you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Boxing Boom Hour.
Chris Boomhauer Henderson, everybody. Thanks for listening, guys. It's been a pleasure. You can find me here, Eastwick Boxing UK. You can also find me on Twitter at the same handle. You find me in Eastwick Boxing. I do a lot of writing for threekingsboxing.com, so look out for Cooper's Corner and Today in Boxing History. Until next time, guys.